This is ABC Fora.
The Australia Institute, a Canberra-based think tank, a few years ago put out a survey that showed we work the most hours of anyone in the world. That is more than those Puritans in the US, that is more than those working warriors in Japan. These figures, I understand, were taken before events of November 24, 2007, which, Mr. Speaker, was a very dark day for all of us who believe in sleep and leisure. That was the day that Kevin Rudd was elected to office. Now, you might remember that Kevin Rudd was elected off the back of an anti-work choices campaign. It tried to scare the crap out of us about how many hours we'd be working on weekends. In fact, there was an ad, a particular ad that really cut through with the Australian people, and it was where a woman was at home. She got the phone call. She was looking after the kids. The boss was on the line telling her she had to work even though she didn't have childcare that weekend. Now, you may have noticed in that ad campaign that you don't hear the boss talking on the other line. And the reason why is it was Kevin Rudd. Look, I know he's nice and cuddly and furry when the camera starts rolling. I'm Kevin and I'm here to help. What he really means is, I'm Kevin and you're here to work. Kevin Rudd is a slave driver. Amongst the Canberra Public Service, he's known as Kevin 24/7. Now, staffers get text messages from him at 2 in the morning. Advisors work 80-hour weeks if they're lucky. Kerry Packer's polo ponies had easier work lives than Kevin Rudd's staffers. It's no wonder that 16 of his staff members have quit in the first 16 months of his prime ministership. Now, it hasn't always been this way. Our political leaders used to understand work-life balance. Remember, Robert Menzies would go to a 5-day test match. He'd go to the cricket. Harold Holt would scuba dive. Paul Keating had his funny little antique clocks. Andrew Peacock, I seem to recall, used to do interviews for the 7:30 report from the ski fields, resplendent in a pink skivvy with a goggle tan. Bob Hawke spent all his life in public life consummating his affair with the Australian people, his love affair. Now, what does Kevin Rudd do? He works and he makes other people work. This is a man who spent his last Christmas holidays writing a 7,000-word essay on financial deregulation. Mr. Speaker, this week in outback Queensland, a $6 million monument was opened to celebrate the formation of the Labor Party in 1891. And these events were based around the Tree of Knowledge, where shearers met. They were on strike, the Great Shearers' Strike of 1891. They got together, they assembled, and the Labor Party evolved out of this. Now, one of the goals of the Labor movement of that era was an 8-hour week. The catch cry at the time was 8 hours work, 8 hours leisure, 8 hours sleep. Those were the days, weren't they? Sadly, those days are gone. Imagine, though, if you campaigned for 8 hours work, 8 hours sleep and 8 hours leisure in Kevin Rudd's office in 2009. Would you become a modern-day hero of the Labor movement? Would they build a monument, a $6 million monument for you? Hardly, would they? They'd send you to the salt mines, wouldn't they? They'd send you to go and work for the New South Wales Labor Party. You'd find yourself working as an electoral officer for Noreen Hay, maybe, or as a media advisor for Joe Tripodi. Now, the affirmative team might say, well, look, this is just an isolated case, you know, it's just the PM's office. But as Paul Keating once said, you change government, you change the country. Now, this kind of work zealotry I've found is spreading through the country faster than mobile phone porn through a Canberra high school. It's infecting our workplaces. It's destroying our work-life balance. Just this week, it was in the papers that the Great Australian Barbecue is diminishing. We're too busy to even have a barbie with our mates. Now, Mr. Speaker, there used to be nice occupations in Australia where you could pursue work-life balance. I'm thinking of teaching, of being a company director, or even of presenting the lotto on commercial television. Now, it used to be a breach of teachers' human rights if they didn't get home in time to watch Deal or No Deal. Sadly, these days are gone, Mr. Speaker. I've heard of teachers who won't even go night clubbing anymore on a Monday night because of Julia Gillard's banging on about performance-related pay. Since Kevin Rudd started going on about executive salaries, I've heard of company directors who have to turn up to 2 or 3 meetings a year. And as for the lotto draw, well, last year Channel 7 said they wouldn't show it on TV unless there was a $15 million jackpot. Where will this end? Mr. Speaker, I'm clocking off now before I start doing overtime. So thanks for listening, everyone.
This is ABC Fora.